Hey there and welcome to BingeBot. We recap all the latest and greatest TV shows to help keep you in the loop. Today we return to Gotham City for The Penguin Season 1, a spin-off of the 2022 film The Batman, which picks up after the events of the movie and follows fan-favorite villain Oz Cobb, aka The Penguin, as he rises to power in the wake of disaster. As always, if you guys want to support our channel, you can do so via YouTube memberships, Patreon, or Buy Me a Coffee, but for now, let's jump right into our recap of The Penguin Season 1, starting with Episode 1. After Hours. In the wake of the devastating attack from the supervillain known as the Riddler that destroyed Gotham's seawall, the city is trying to recover, and at the same time, a ruthless power struggle unfolds among the city's major criminals following the assassination of Carmine Falcone, the most feared crime lord in Gotham. A week after his death, Carmine's right-hand man, Oswald Cobb, also known as Oz or the Penguin due to his club foot, breaks into Carmine's loft to retrieve a hefty file for a blackmail scheme on Carmine's cousin and underboss, Johnny Vitti. Interrupted by the heir to the Falcone Empire, Alberto, Oz defuses the situation by assuring the young man that he's now loyal to him as his new boss. Over a celebratory drink for Alberto's newly gained power, he confides in Oz that he's worried about falling short of his father's legacy, and as comfort, Oz tells Alberto a story about a gangster who ruled with respect and earned the admiration of his community. While Oz continues the story, Alberto notices that he isn't suggesting that Alberto should aim to become that kind of gangster, but that it's Oz himself who aspires to reach that position, leading Alberto to ridicule Oz and laugh in his face.
It's so pathetic. You really think people would make a float of your dumb face and march you down the street chanting your goddamn name?
And faced with this humiliation, Oz pulls out a gun and shoots Alberto several times in the chest. After cleaning up the mess, Oz scares off a group of kids who are trying to boost the rims of his car, and one of them, Victor Aguilar, he catches and forces to drive him to the apartment of Eve Harlow, a madame with whom Oz has a complicated love relationship. When Eve questions Oz about the unexpected visit, he requests that she vouch for him and provide an alibi, claiming he was with her all night. After being given Eve's word, Oz departs with Vic and coerces him into helping dispose of Alberto's body. Dumping the body in a scrapyard, Oz takes a gold ring from Alberto's pinky finger that originally belonged to the Falcone's main rival, Salvatore Maroni, who's currently in prison after a drug bust that was orchestrated by the Falcones. Instead of killing Vic too, though, Oz is swayed by the teenager's promise of discretion and loyalty and decides to give him a chance to prove himself. Called to the Falcone mansion, Oz is ordered by Johnny Vitti to shut down the drug plant that he oversees, as they're moving the operation to a different neighborhood called Robbinsville. Panicked by the news, Oz mentions that there's a shipment coming in that could help them expand beyond their famous drugs, drops, but unfortunately for him, Vitti's mind is set. After the meeting, Oz is approached by Alberto's sister, Sophia, who insists on taking Oz to lunch, during which she asks him if he knows where her brother is. Although Oz firmly denies knowing anything about Alberto's whereabouts, Sophia doesn't trust him, especially given that Oz is the reason that she spent the last 10 years in prison in Arkham Asylum, and why everyone is terrified of her and calls her the Hangman. After the tense lunch, Oz takes Vic to meet his dementia-addled mother, Frances. Despite her illness, Frances is still sharp enough to know that her son has done something terrible, leading him to admit to her that he killed Alberto Falcone. Instead of telling Oz that he must go into hiding, she stresses that the city now belongs to him, and he's too close to give it up now. Inspired by his mother's encouragement, Oz decides to visit Salvatore Maroni in Blackgate Prison to present his plan to double-cross the Falcones and intercept their drops transportation to Robbinsville.
I could give you everything you need, so your crew can just swoop in and steal the whole kit. Come on, Sal.
Knowing Oz's untrustworthy reputation, Sal initially refuses until Oz returns the ring that he took from Alberto's body as a gesture of goodwill. Shortly after Oz departs from Blackgate, Sophia sends her men to chase him down and capture him, bring him to the Falcone mansion, where he's stripped naked and tortured, with Sophia insisting that he tell her where Alberto is. But before Oz admits to anything, a car suddenly crashes into the side of the house, disturbing Sophia. And opening the trunk of the driverless car, Sophia is shocked to find Alberto's dead body with a pinky finger missing and the word payback scratched on the underside of the trunk, leading her to believe that Salvatore Maroni's behind her brother's murder, all while Oz erupts in a fit of laughter. Now free, Oz reunites with Vic, revealing that the car crash was a part of their elaborate plan to incite a gang war between the Falcones and Maronis, all to clear a path for Oz to seize control of Gotham. Episode 2. Inside Man. Having convinced Sal to claim responsibility for Alberto's murder, Oz decides to deliver on his part of the deal by helping the Maronis hijack the Falcones' truck on their way to Robbinsville. To ensure the Falcones don't suspect him of being the mole, Oz approaches Sophia, promising to help her root out any traitors. However, she enlists the services of ex-detective turned drug addict Marcus Wise to find out who the mole is. During Alberto's wake, Marcus proudly presents one of the Maroni men, Ervad, to Sophia, unconscious in the trunk of his car and still hooked up to a drip from the hospital that he kidnapped him from. Once Oz realizes that Sophia has one of the Maronis captive, he understands that he can't afford to let the man live and risk revealing his betrayal. So compelled to act, Oz sneaks into the basement where Ervad's held captive and stabs him to death. Upon finding Ervad murdered, Luca Falcone, the new boss of the Falcones, orders a complete lockdown. While lining up their suspects, Oz instigates a physical scrap with Vidi, causing just enough chaos to plant his knife on one of Sophia's most loyal men, Castillo, without anyone noticing.
We got him. It was in his pocket.
That's not get off of me, Miss Falcone. I swear to God, that is not mine.
Though Castillo pleads innocence, Luca shoots him without hesitation. And saddened by Castillo's death, Sophia confronts Luca, who responds by informing her that she's no longer welcome in the family and tells her to leave Gotham and start a fresh life in Italy. In response, Sophia decides to call Oz to the Falcone crypt. In front of her family's golden plaques, she accepts his offer to work together to bring the old men to their knees. Episode 3: Bliss. To initiate their partnership, Sophia takes Oz to her plantation, where her revolutionary new drug, Bliss, is produced. What Sophia needs from Oz now is to find a distributor for Bliss that the Falcone family won't catch wind of. And with this in mind, Oz meets with Link Sai from the crime faction known as the Triads, and convinces him to give a sample of Bliss to the Triad boss, Feng Zhao, also known as the Dai Lo, or Big Brother. To obtain the authorization needed for a partnership with Zhao, Oz puts the file he found in Carmine Falcone's loft to use and blackmails Vidi, who is having an affair with Luca Falcone's wife. Threatening to expose Vidi, Oz and Sophia force him to call Zhao and inform him that they have his support in distributing Bliss throughout Gotham. Now that they have Zhao's approval, Oz instructs Vic to begin selling Bliss in one of the Triad's busy clubs. But while doing this though, Vic suddenly breaks down, haunted by the memories of the Riddler's attacks that destroyed his entire neighborhood and killed his family. Finding Vic shaken in the bathroom, Oz tries to get him to compose himself and continue doing his job. But things change when Oz finds texts from Vic's girlfriend, Graciela, revealing that he had promised her that they'd both get on a bus that is departing shortly and travel to California for a new life. After an explosive confrontation, Vic decides to steal Oz's car and head to the bus station. However, Oz's influence proves too strong, as Vic decides to stay behind and simply watches Graciela get on the bus and leave without him. Outside the club, Sophia and Oz share cigarettes and begin to contemplate how Sophia might ever move on from Oz's betrayal 10 years prior. But before they can reach any meaningful resolution, a sudden squeal of brakes interrupts them. 3 of the Maronis, including Sal's wife Nadia, hop out of a truck, and furious that Oz went behind the Maronis' back to distribute Bliss, Nadia forces him and Sophia to their knees at gunpoint. At this critical moment, Vic returns to see that Oz is in dire need of help, and wanting to prove his loyalty, Vic makes a split-second decision to drive his car straight into one of the Maroni men, crushing him. Almost in disbelief that Vic returned for him, Oz quickly jumps into the passenger seat and orders him to drive, leaving Sophia behind. Episode 4: San Ani. In the moments before Vic's arrival to rescue Oz, 2 significant revelations took place as Nadia declared that she's claiming Oz and Sophia's Bliss Lab as Maroni territory, but even worse, Nadia also revealed to Sophia that it was actually Oz who killed Alberto.
Shut your goddamn mouth.
Oh, I thought for a moment you two were... that perhaps you asked him to
Asked him to what?
kill your brother, to take his place.
During the ensuing commotion caused by Vic's arrival, Sophia's head strikes the concrete and she stumbles away as Nadia escapes. Before collapsing, she manages to make one last phone call to her therapist, Julianne Rush. While unconscious, Sophia begins to dream of where her life fell apart. At a luncheon for the Isabella Falcone Foundation, a charitable organization established by Carmine and Sophia Falcone in memory of their mother, Sophia gives a well-received speech. After concluding her remarks, a journalist named Summer Gleason questions Sophia about the death of a young woman named Yolanda Jones. Yolanda's death suspiciously mirrors that of Sophia's mother and several other women over the last decade. All were found hanging, and each had a direct link to Carmine Falcone. At Sophia's request, Summer secretly meets her beneath a dark overpass where she shares files that she has gathered, which strongly suggests the women were strangled, not hung, and fought back against their assailant, indicating that they were victims of murder rather than self-harm. With this realization, Sophia recalls finding her mother's hanging body as a child and noticing scratches on her father's hands the same night, leading her to conclude that it was her father who killed her mother. Unfortunately for Sophia, her driver at the time was Oz, who informed Carmine of her meeting with Summer. Oz's betrayal prompts Carmine to summon Sophia to his office where he questions her, and after a heated exchange, Carmine realizes Sophia knows too much and declares her delusional due to a mental illness. Later in the night, as Oz drives Sophia home, the police pull them over and arrest her for the murders of Summer Gleason, Yolanda Jones, and all the other women who were found hanging, earning Sophia the nickname the Hangman. Using his influence, Carmine convinces Arkham Asylum that Sophia is mentally disturbed, causing her to be subjected to electroshock therapy and torture. This treatment triggers horrific hallucinations and profound personality changes, transforming Sophia from a kind and caring young woman into the psychotic killer that she is today. Though her time in Arkham was beyond traumatic, Sophia met her therapist, Julian Rush, who developed a soft spot for her. Now, in the present, Julian rescues Sophia's unconscious body and takes her to his office, where she awakens and quickly realizes that she must get revenge for all of the horrors that she has endured. Filled with hatred toward the family that betrayed her all of those years ago by corroborating her father's claim that she was a murderous lunatic, Sophia crashes a Falcone dinner where she delivers a scathing speech, calling each of them out for their betrayal, but still raises her glass to toast to new beginnings. Sophia's new beginnings hold a far darker meaning than anyone could have anticipated, though. In the dead of night, she takes the only person in the family that she cares about, Gia, her cousin's young daughter, for a sleepover in the greenhouse. Before Gia wakes up the next morning, Sophia dons a gas mask and slips back into the house. Inside, the bodies of the Falcones and their staff litter the mansion, victims of a fatal gas leak orchestrated by Sophia. The sole survivor is Johnny Vitti, whose usefulness has not yet been expended. Episode 5. Homecoming. Wanting to get revenge on the Maronis, Oz and his crew storm the tattoo shop where Sal and Nadia's son, Taj, is hiding, killing everyone inside and capturing Taj. Afterward, in Blackgate Prison, Oz negotiates a deal with Sal and Nadia, promising to return their son if Nadia gives back all of the bliss that she stole from him. That night, Nadia arrives at the agreed location in a warehouse to retrieve her son. Although she accepts the deal, she knows Oz cannot be trusted, prompting her to set up an ambush. However, Oz is prepared for this. Anticipating Nadia's trap, he has Taj stripped to his underwear and drenched in gasoline. When Nadia sees her son in such a tragic state, she embraces him as her men spring their ambush on Oz. But prepared for the attack, Oz's men return fire on the Maroni crew. Amid the chaos, Oz lights a trail of gasoline leading to Taj, setting him and Nadia ablaze. Unfortunately, the flames trigger the fire extinguishers in the warehouse, destroying all of the bliss stored there except for 2 buckets. Back at the Falcone mansion, Sophia uses Vitti's influence to gather all of the remaining henchmen of her family, and with pride, she confesses to wiping out the Falcones and announcing the birth of a new family under her mother's maiden name, the Gigantes.
From this point on, I am a Gigante, and this is a new family now.
What are you doing?
Once Sophia vows to end the war with the Maronis and lead Gotham into a new era, Vitti protests, leading her to shoot him in the head without hesitation. Throwing a bag of cash next to the lifeless body, she tells the remaining men that if they join her, it's all theirs and then some. Meanwhile, Sal, having stolen a guard's key and managing to escape from prison, finds out that Oz killed Nadia and Taj, leaving him devastated. Seeing this as a perfect opportunity to end her war with the Maronis, Sophia forges an alliance with Sal on the core tenet of making Oz suffer for killing his family. Knowing that both Sophia and Sal are coming for him, Oz orders Vic to take Frances to a place that no one would look for her, leading Vic to take her to his old ruined neighborhood in Crown Point. Having spent his entire life in Gotham, Oz then takes Vic to the forgotten trolley system running beneath the city. Due to the darkness and humidity of the tunnels, they discover it to be the perfect base of operations to grow more bliss and hide out from their enemies. Episode 6. Gold Summit. With the major crime families in shambles, Oz grows an underground empire from just 2 buckets of mushrooms. In return for providing the forsaken citizens of Crown Point with jobs and protection, they give Oz the love and loyalty that he's always craved. During a power outage in Crown Point, Oz learns that the Triads are pulling out of their deal, as Sal and Sophia have declared that they won't show mercy to anyone working with them. Dealing with one problem at a time, Oz strives to return power to the neighborhood by getting a violent jump on Councilman Haiti. Clamping pliers to Hades' nose, Oz demands that the power be diverted back to Crown Point. Displaying a surprising show of leadership, Oz then welcomes a handful of gang leaders, including the Triads, to what he calls the Gold Summit, successfully rallying them to channel their hatred for one another into the ones on top, the Gigantes and the Maronis. Having found a picture of Eve in Oz's apartment, Sophia pays her a visit, only to quickly realize that she's just another victim of Oz's manipulation, leading her to spare her life. In return, Eve decides to tell Sophia that Oz is now hiding in Crown Point. Sometime later, when the power surges back on through Crown Point, Frances is delighted and invites Vic to dance with her in celebration. All the while, Sophia watches from the doorway, clearly planning to use Oz's mother against him. Episode 7, Top Hat. Flashing back to Oz's childhood, he is shown to be living with his mother and 2 brothers, Jack and Benny. When one morning Frances sends them out to play, they decide to play a game of hide and seek in the trolley tunnels. Oz counts first and manages to find both of his brothers at the bottom of a storm drain, which he can't climb into because of the metal brace on his leg. Angry that they'd use that against him, Oz slams the water overflow door shut, locking his brothers inside. As Oz goes home to his mom and lies by telling her that her brothers are at the movies, rain lashes in torrential sheets throughout the city and fills the storm drain, tragically drowning Jack and Benny. In the present day in Crown Point, Oz arrives at the apartment to find Vic unconscious and Frances gone. Just in time, he wakes Vic up and ushers him out to the fire escape before Sal storms the building and captures Oz. Wanting to control Bliss' operation, Sal and his men swarm Oz's base and hold him at gunpoint as a show of power. Always 2 steps ahead, Oz already has his men drilled for such a situation, and on his signal, they hit the lights and the plant goes dark. Through the chaos, Sal and Oz engage in a fistfight on one of the trolley carts, where Sal ends up suffering a fatal heart attack. Unable to accept that he won through such means, Oz shoots him a few times in the chest and keeps his gold ring. Upon receiving the news of Sal's death, Sophia decides to play by her own rules and sends a bomb into Oz's underground base, setting the whole operation to blow. Narrowly escaping the blast, Oz emerges from the rubble, only to be met by Marcus Wise, who tells him that Sophia wants to see him before knocking him out. Episode 8, A Great or Little Thing. Waking up, Oz finds himself opposite Frances, both tied to chairs and surrounded by Sophia and her men. Pitting mother and son against each other, Sophia presses them both to finally speak their truths surrounding the deaths of Jack and Benny. After Frances spits in her face, Sophia orders her right pinky finger to be removed, slowly, unless Oz admits his most terrible crime. Even then, though, Oz doubles down, ready to let them mutilate his own mother rather than admit that he killed his brothers. Enraged at Oz's behavior, Frances unleashes decades of built-up hatred and reveals to him that she's always known he was responsible for Jack and Benny's deaths, and she wishes he had died years ago.
I know what you did to Jack and Benny. I always known.
It's just your disease talking, man.
You!
In the midst of her emotional outburst, a stroke suddenly hits, and she collapses onto the floor. In a blind, desperate rage, Oz breaks his restraints and shoots down Sophia's men. Scooping Frances over his shoulder, he escapes and takes her straight to the hospital. Feeling like all of his years of effort were for nothing, Oz is comforted by Vic, who reassures him that he made a real difference to the many lives in Crown Point by giving them their rightly deserved dignity. And motivated by Vic's speech, Oz meets with Councilman Haiti at City Hall to tell him that Sophia is responsible for the explosion in the tunnels. In exchange for this information, Oz demands a direct line to City Hall, furthering his influence. As Oz secures political ties, Vic receives a heads up from Link's side that Sophia is offering her entire empire to whoever brings Oz to her. Leaving City Hall, Oz's triumph falters when he finds Link and his men waiting for him instead of Vic, and allows himself to be taken in. Upon receiving word from the Triads that they have Oz, Sophia establishes a rendezvous and sends what remains of her life in Gotham up in flames. Content and hopeful, she heads to the airport, intending to leave the country after dealing with Oz. Besides the private jet that awaits Sophia, Zhao is there with Oz, whose hands are tied, and unexpectedly, Oz smirks at Sophia, but her understanding dawns far too late, as behind Zhao's back, Link raises a gun and shoots him in the head. The remaining Triads then cut Oz loose, and they kill Sophia's men, but leave her standing utterly defeated. Just like old times, Oz takes Sophia for a drive, while all over Gotham, deputies are killing their gang leaders in a wave of violent mutiny. By the waterfront where Oz stops the car, Sophia looks over the city and closes her eyes, ready for a bullet that never comes. Sirens pierce the air instead as a police helicopter lands upon Sophia, now standing completely alone with nowhere left to run. At the hospital, Oz struggles to cope with the news of Frances' stroke, leaving her in a vegetative state. To drown out his sorrows, he shares a bottle of liquor with Vic by the river. Emotions are high, and after everything, Vic admits that he now views Oz as family. Where Vic sees family, though, Oz sees weakness, which he simply cannot afford anymore. And using that moment of vulnerability to close his hands around Vic's throat, Oz shockingly strangles him to death. Locked in Arkham once more, Sophia's given up all hope until Julian delivers a letter from Selena Kyle, a woman claiming to be Sophia's half-sister. By contrast, Oz returns home to a luxurious apartment with a penthouse suite where Frances is set up in a hospital bed with all of her equipment. Overlooking the city, a single tear rolls from her eye, showing her sorrow. Yet, Oz decides to interpret it to mean that his mother's happy about his newfound power. Waiting in the lounge, Eve is dressed exactly the same as Frances would dress when she would take Oz dancing when he was a child. And wrapped in each other's arms, Eve whispers everything Oz wants to hear from his own mother. As they sway to the music, however, the clouds outside light up with the familiar symbol of a bat, calling upon the only hero left in Gotham that can put an end to Oz's oppressive grip on the city. And that's it for the Penguin Season 1. So Oz has a stranglehold on Gotham, but it sounds like Batman is ready to don his cowl and deliver some more justice. I can't wait to see them clash once again in Season 2, and we'll have that recap ready for you as soon as the new season drops. Thanks again for checking out this recap and for watching through until the end. If you guys want more videos like this, subscribe to our channel and don't forget to ring the notification bell so you never miss a new one. We'll be back soon with another recap, but until then, BingeBot is logging off.